Lead singer and founding member of the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger is one of the most successful singers of all time. With a career spanning over 6 decades, it is inevitable that his life and career would be embroiled with scandals, conspiracies, and drama. However, despite the high press attention he has received all the time, there were still a few things only whispered in the dark that have been recently brought to light. And it all started in the basement of a club with borrowed guitars and no money. As of now, we all know Mick Jagger as a revolutionary musical sensation, but things were very different back in the 40s, when Jagger was a kid in a middle-class family of a hairdresser and a PE teacher. Jagger's father was an avid basketball fan and helped popularize the sport in Britain, and ever since he was a child, he had been expected to follow his father's footsteps and become an example to his younger brother. Despite this, Jagger knew deep down that his true calling was singing and often sang alone and listened to singers on the radio, dreaming of a life greater than the one he was living. When given the opportunity, he immediately joined his church's choir so he could indulge his hobby more regularly, and since his parents were conservative Christians, they did not protest his keenness. Then came along 1950, where Jagger first met Keith Richards at Wentworth Primary School, and the two became fast friends. However, Jagger's family moved away to Wilmington and he lost contact with Richards, thinking he would never meet him again. Disheartened, he studied and passed his 11+ examination and got enrolled in Dartford Grammar School, thinking dejectedly that he was probably meant to follow his father's footsteps. However, maybe God heard his secret prayers because, unknowingly to him, his life was about to take a turn. The twist came when Jagger met Dick Taylor and got encouraged to pursue his music career once again. Together, they started a garage band of humble beginnings, playing songs from all sorts of artists including Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Howlin' Wolf, and Bo Diddley. Although neither of the pair's parents were particularly enthusiastic about this interest, seeing their sons so passionate about what they did led them to finally acquiesce to their practices. Life truly turned around when Jagger found Richards again in 1961, standing on a platform at Dartford railway station. The two bonded over the Chucky Berry and Muddy Waters records that Jagger was carrying and found that they shared the same music aspirations. Soon after, they began their musical partnership, meeting together at Jagger's house along with Taylor to practice their music. These little get-togethers soon turned more serious and regular, with 2 more members, Bob Beckwith and Alan Etherington, joining the trio at Taylor's house to perform and hang out. They formed themselves into a little band and called it Blues Boys. In 1961, Jagger left school after completing 7 O-levels and 2 A-levels and moved in with friend and guitarist Brian Jones along with Richards. While Richards and Jones were thinking about starting another band and pursuing music, Jagger had begun to gear towards more educational pursuits and had started studying finance and accounting on a government grant in London School of Economics. During this time, he considered becoming a politician or a journalist, thinking about his future in somber terms. Fortunately for the music world, fate had other plans and soon revealed itself in the form of his 2 friends and flatmates. After Jones joined Ealing Club, he asked his friends to come and perform with him in a band ensemble there that called itself the Blues Incorporated. Jagger and Richards joined, and Jagger soon became the lead singer in the band. However, they still had sessions on their own, with just the 3 of them in hopes of something bigger. Then came about the foundation of the Rolling Stones, with the trio Jagger, Richards, Jones, and other members Ian Stewart on piano, Dick Taylor on bass, and Tony Chapman on drums. Their first appearance was under the name Rollin' Stones, after their favorite Muddy Waters song, and they performed it in a London jazz club called Marquee on 12 July 1962, Mick Avery being the drum performer that night. During this time, they used borrowed equipment and had little stability. Despite this, Jagger believed in them and quit the steady degree he was about to get to play with the band full-time. And this risk, it turns out, was worth the gamble. Soon the group was starting to have success, with their songs getting more acclaim. The group initially played songs by other rhythm and blues artists, with their first 2 UK #1 hits being cover versions of It's All Over Now by Bobby Womack and Little Red Rooster by Willie Dixon, but there was just something inside them, especially Jagger and Richards, that wanted more originality and uniqueness. When their manager Andrew Loog Oldham encouraged them to try and write their own songs, a historical partnership between Jagger and Richards commenced. The two developed their songwriting abilities and joined heads, coming up with their famous song The Last Time, which became the group's 3rd #1 hit single in the UK. Encouraged by their success, the duo wrote more songs, and thus under their partnership came the band's first international single, "I Can't Get No Satisfaction," which branded them as defiant troublemakers to the world. This snowballed the band's success, with them rising in fame one song after another. Jagger was finally able to rise from his humble beginnings, proving to his parents that passion can sometimes truly win against tradition. However, things were about to take an ugly turn. In the late 1980s, the Rolling Stones temporarily disbanded, and the reason for this conflict was the once shining duo, Jaggers and Richards. It started with rifts in recording sessions over how to promote the band. Then Jagger started a solo career simultaneously to explore his own artistic identity without the band. The true blow came, however, when Richards started active decision-making in the band after quitting his temporary heroin use, and Jagger was confronted with authority he did not like, which ended with him refusing to go on tour with the band to promote Dirty Work, their latest album. This feud was referred to as World War III by fans since it included all-time low relations between the pair and threatened the permanent end of the Rolling Stones. When Jaggers released his second solo album, Richards followed suit with a solo of his own, scaring fans even more. But they soon realized how heavy the impact of their separation would be and came together to produce Steel Wheels, which marked the band's first world tour in 7 years and their biggest stage production to date. It seemed their rift had made their bond even stronger, since Forbes reported that the band made $1.5 billion in total gross revenue between 1989 to 2001. Jaggers and Richards celebrated the Rolling Stones' 40th anniversary by going on a year-long tour with the band and supporting its commercially successful career. Their relationship was one of love and hate, with Richards stating he found Jaggers unbearable and later admitting that despite that he still loved him dearly. Fans often speculated whether they had been in an on-again, off-again romantic relationship, attributing to Jaggers' explorative gender non-conforming glam identity on stage and the obvious tension between him and Richards, although this was never confirmed. The band remained lively years after releasing album after album and is still together to this day, despite several of the original members having passed away. And due to this, Jaggers has finally revealed what we have all been fearing all this time, that the classic legendary band could be overtaken by AI. At 80, Jaggers came out to state how many of the Rolling Stones members were no longer here and too old, but their songs were still celebrated and heard. Talking about the success of ABBA's Voyage and the subsequent virtual concert that depicted the ABBA stars performing onstage as they did during the height of their fame in the 70s. Jaggers said that since it was now possible to have a posthumous career, it might be that one day the only legacy of the band will be the avatars that would sing their songs on stage. This has been heartbreaking to fans, as it comes with the realization of the time that has passed and the technology that has developed so quickly, and the fact that the time has finally come for our favorites to take their next journey. Jaggers and the Rolling Stones, however, have carved a legacy greater than any technology that could come and have made a dent in the hearts of fans of rhythm and blues around the world. No matter what comes about and what avatars sing their songs, there is one thing that every Rolling Stones fan can agree on, and that is their original music will always be superior, full of life and reminding us of staying true to who we are in a world that repeatedly tells us who we should be. What is your favorite Rolling Stones song and why? Drop down below.